Well, hello everyone. I'm putting together a lecture here that's actually quite short. I was going to add it to a prior lecture and decided to make it its own because it's a very important topic in many ways, and I think it applies very well to this chapter. And it's a little extra that the Rebel doesn't get into, but excuse me, since we're sort of going this route, I decided that I would like to add some stuff. And this is about what is called mastery orientation versus what we would otherwise refer to as helpless orientation. And it really is a good explanation of why some children succeed while other children fail. So let's get started. When we speak of mastery orientation, really the person to talk about is this gentleman here, Julian Rotter. Now, you may have heard of this concept before. Some students have, and some have not. It's called locus of control, and that is spelled correctly Locus, locus of control. Rotter's locus of control basically says that a lot of our personality is based on our view of who controls us. Excuse me, who controls us? Do we control our own lives or does someone else control it for us? All right. And he came up with two terms called an internal and an external locus of control. People, including children, with an internal locus of control tend to believe that they are in control of their lives. They are in control of their destiny. They are in control of their future. They, on a daily basis, influence what goes on. For the most part, if things go well, it's because of them. And if things don't go well, it's because of them. That's something we see a lot in an internal locus of control. I control my life, my outcome, and so on. People with an external locus of control are individuals who often feel like someone or something else tends to run their life. Maybe their kids run their life. Maybe their parents run their life. Maybe their friends run their life. Or maybe they believe heavily in the concept of fate and luck. Like you really don't have much control over what happens, you just get lucky. Or fate, either smiles upon you or doesn't smile upon you. People with that attitude believe that if they have any successes, it's usually due to someone else. If they turn around and, have any failures, it's outside of their control anyways, because they have no influence over it. Now, a couple of things about this, internal versus external. Uh, are you always in one category or the other? People ask me that. Can't you sometimes be external and sometimes internal? And to that, I would actually say yes. But where are you most of the time? How do you most of the time live your life? Do you live your life in an internal state or an external state? You can be a very internal locus of control person. You run your own life, but you can be thrust into a situation where you have to rely on someone else and maybe they let you down. So that doesn't mean you're suddenly external. You made that choice and someone else influenced it and you didn't have much say over it. But overall, where do you tend to find yourself? Now, how does this apply to children? When we talk about successes, how children view their successes influences how hard they try. I'll say that again. How children view their successes influences how hard they try. Are their successes due to them? Are their successes due to someone else? Are their failures due to them and therefore can they work on them, or are they really outside of their control? Okay. This is a personality element, and this really explains why some children fail while others succeed. All right, and a lot of it is the mindset, and you as adults can influence this mindset. You can have an impact upon it. That's for darn sure. And that takes us to a discussion of what is called a mastery versus helpless orientation. All right, here on the next slide, I'm going to show you a breakdown of how this works. And know this, children as well as adults and teenagers who have this mastery orientation mindset, okay, they tend to be more successful. They tend to do better at things, as opposed to people who tend to have a helpless orientation. So let's explain. Whoops, excuse me. Put that back up there. I'm sorry. It's a long list, but if you look at it from across, from left to right, you begin to see how this works. All right. A mastery orientation mindset versus a helpless orientation. The mastery orientation is sort of your internal locus of control, and the helpless orientation is more of an external locus of control. So let's look at some of these going across. People with a mastery orientation tend to attribute success to a lot of work and skill. People with a helpless orientation tend to attribute their success to luck. All right. Um, that says an awful lot right there. People with a mastery orientation attribute failure to a lack of effort or knowledge, a helpless orientation to a lack of ability. And you see people with a mastery orientation that realize that they failed because they didn't know something, they lacked the knowledge, or they didn't put in enough of the effort, will see this lack of knowledge as something that they can change. People with a helpless orientation tend to attribute their failures to a lack of ability. And if you don't have the ability, then you can't get any better. So you see a lack of knowledge and skills, and I dare say ability, as relatively permanent and therefore unchangeable. One example I've used in the class with this that sometimes makes people grin is when they turn around and they see individuals who, let's say during the summertime, are out on their skateboards, even around the campus late in the afternoon and evening, riding their skateboards off the sidewalk, trying to go down the steps and things like that. They fall down a lot, but they keep on trying. Yet sometimes these same people will turn around and take a college algebra class thinking they can't do it. They don't have the ability. All right, that's what they see it as, a question of ability. And they take that first college algebra test and they do poorly on it and they just get upset and say, see, I can't do math. See, it's not my fault. I can't do math. And they give up. That is a helpless orientation. You see it as a lack of ability. You got to be sort of good at math, and I'm not, and so it's relatively unchangeable. The current status is permanent, so I'm out of luck. All right, change your mindset. Now let's get back to the list. People with a mastery orientation tend to be optimistic about the future. Even if you failed, you figure that you believe you can figure it out. People with a helpless orientation tend to be pessimistic about the future, even if they've been successful. Well, I don't know that I'll continue to be successful. All right. Mastery orientation people talk positive. They encourage they hold positive expectations. People with a helpless orientation are more negative. They're full of anxiety. They don't believe they can do it. People with a mastery orientation will ask for help when needed. All right. If you don't understand it, they'll go find the help. People with a helpless orientation avoid seeking help because they see needing or asking for help as a confirmation of poor ability. I have had very few students come to me during the semester asking for help. All right. And I think some of it, not all, but some of it is that belief that it is embarrassing to admit you have to ask for help. And one student once told me, you don't want to be caught by your other friends being seen in a classroom, or excuse me, in an office asking a teacher for help. That's embarrassing. And I sort of got upset. I told this person, why do you give a rat's hind end about what someone else sees? I mean, if you need the help, you need the help. Well, you don't want to look bad. It's not about looking bad, it's what you know. Okay. So, they avoid seeking help because it confirms they don't know it. Who cares? Let's fix it. Let's make it better. Back to the mastery orientation. Persists on difficult tasks. That's a big one. Very persistent. Tries to find new strategies. I tell people when it comes to the world of business, expect failure. And people look at me funny when I say that. Expect failure? Yes, you heard me. Expect failure. Not everything's going to work perfectly. Things are going to go wrong. Try to figure out what it is that went wrong and fix it. Why do you think all these companies ask you to fill out surveys on their receipts they hand you? Go fill out the survey. Tell us how we did. Because they want to fix whatever's not working. They will persist on those tasks and try to find new strategies. people with a helpless orientation decrease effort on difficult tasks and they just give up. All right, keep going. Mastery orientation people will seek challenging tasks, view them as a way to make them smarter, to increase their ability. Helpless orientation people avoid challenging tasks because it views them as a way of confirming that they don't know how to do it. All right. Um, and finally, has learning goals, seeks to learn new strategies and skills. Whereas people with a helpless orientation have performance goals. They seek to perform well to confirm ability to their self. One example of this last one occurred in my son when he was younger and he would play his video games, which I've never been too nuts about. And then in the end, what would happen? He would get through the first level, and I would suggest to try the next level or to increase the difficulty of the game. And he would say, Dad, I can't do that. I fail. I said, well, yeah, but playing the same level over and over and over and over again, and because you know all the moves, you're not really accomplishing anything. Pardon me. So finally, at my urging, just to appease his old man, he went up to the next level and he started playing and he lost. And he looked at me and said, see, I lost. I said, keep trying. Let's figure this out. And so we sat there probably for the next 45 minutes going through different things. In the beginning, he was sure that I was wrong. But then after increased effort, he started to realize that he was figuring out where to send his character, where to jump, where to stop, where to go, what to do. He got to the point that he stopped talking to me because he was so focused on the game. He was getting farther through his little video game than he did on his own. And he started to realize that it was worth the effort to keep on trying. Yes, he failed a few more times, but he basically turned around and kept going. And I think it was a changing moment. Once again, I'm not a lover of video games in that regard, but I think he learned the value of keep trying and keep trying and keep trying. And then when he finished it, which really was sometime later, I said, did you get through level 2? Oh yeah. Well, then he was so nonchalant about it, whereas a day earlier it was the end all of the universe. So this is a mindset of successful people, successful children, successful men and women, okay, adults, a mastery orientation. Be persistent. If you don't know something, go figure it out. If you can't figure it out on your own, go ask for help. You know, it is not about luck. It's not about a lack of ability. It's not about being pessimistic. You have to turn around and keep striving to be better. This is what it's all about. Okay? All right. I'm going to change topics here because I have a single slide. I didn't want to do a presentation on just a single slide, so I want to go ahead and add this in. And I want to talk for just a moment, just a little bit, about self-concept in adolescence. Okay? As I mentioned before, when it comes to self-concept, this is a combination of self-image and self-esteem. And these things are very highly influenced during adolescence by the elements of puberty. Because basically during puberty, kids can shoot up in height. They can go and go through changes that sometimes they look forward to and sometimes make them feel awkward because they stand out from the group, which a lot of teenagers do not necessarily want. The major focus for a lot of teenagers, believe it or not, as you probably know or remember, is body image. That is such a big element, is how you look. All right? We would like to think self-esteem is the most major thing, but body image really is probably the biggest thing. And what is interesting about body image is this, and there's a reason for this photo here, okay? I use it in the eating disorders because I worry about this in a lot of teenagers. It is a concept called the self-image congruency model, all right? And this is very important. Teenagers, adolescents, it's not about how they see themselves. Okay, self-image is not about how they see themselves. Self-image is also not about how others see them. And you may say, what? That's right. Self-image is not about how others see them. Self-image congruency model says that our belief of how we appear, our image of self, is based off of how we think others see us. how we think others see us. And this sometimes is a big facet for the anorexics. Um, I've had issues with anorexia and bulimia as far as eating disorders. I've had issues with students and sometimes family members. So that is why I include this photo. It is how you think other people see you, not how they really do. In fact, you can have teenagers who basically may finally confide in a parent or something that I know everyone thinks I'm fat. Well, you could go ask, your daughter's friends, do you think so and so is fat? And they sort of look at you with that puzzled look and no, in fact, anything, you're sort of on the skinny side. That's self-image congruency. It's not how you see yourself. It's not how others see you. It's how you think others see you. And that can influence a great deal. All right, that's enough for now. I can expand upon that into more material at a later date. Hope that helps. Take care.